Thank you, Sven. Chapter 8. The Might Have Been Dance. This restaurant was smaller than others I visited in the hotel, and cozier than most, decorated with pink and blue ribbons and balloons, in line with the fashion collection just demonstrated downstairs. Almost everything there was pink and blue, including the tablecloths, china, and the models themselves, still wearing their runway outfits. This is quite a scene. Jeff was impressed. Though I don't think the taxpayer would give their consent to this kind of spending by MI5. The good news is they'll never know, I said, as we approached the girls' table. I'm sure you can keep the state secrets, can't you? And now let me introduce you to the prettiest creatures in this world. I named all the girls. Ladies, this is a very old friend of mine, Jeff Long, who is obviously shocked and stunned to see all your beauties. You? You just told me the truth, if only for a change, he mumbled. Ladies, I must admit, you are gorgeous. We drank, and ate, and talked, and laughed. It really was a great evening. The only fly in the ointment was a fleeting sight of one of Bretta's feet as it peeked out from underneath the table once. No, the foot itself was wonderful, but it wore a casual ballerina shoe, not that high-heeled pump she was wearing during the show. What she was wearing, however, was well beyond my control, so I decided to stay cool. The girls kept gossiping, the wine was excellent, and the nice evening was even nicer, thanks to the live band playing ever so softly on the scene surrounded by a dimly lit dancing area. At some moment, the musicians stopped their smooth jazzy exercises and started a mellow pop tune. Almost at that very second, Jeff jumped to his feet and extended his hand towards Bretta. May I? I saw the impression of uncertainty drawn on her face, and her words that followed made me recall the story she told on that TV show. I'm not sure, Jeff. And, as if trying to avoid offending him, she hurried to add, I'm kind of tall, you know. This is great, he laughed. I'm also tall, as you can see, and it's been quite difficult for me to find a dance partner in this country. Let's show them what tall Europeans should look like. Well, I really don't know. Bretta was still indecisive, but Jeff couldn't wait any longer. We're going to miss this wonderful tune, and then wait forever for the next one. Lisa smiled broadly. Jeff, evidently, was not in a smiling mood. His face was slowly stretching down as he watched his dance partner stretching up. It can't be true, can it? He exclaimed once Bretta had gained her full height. You see, I laughed. For the second time tonight, you didn't believe a good, trustworthy person. And in both cases, you've been proved wrong. Should you reconsider your attitude towards people? Longy, however, was not capable of appreciating jokes at that moment. He stared at Bretta as if she were an alien. Or, maybe, even an alien spacecraft. Please don't, he almost cried when she moved to sit down. I see, we can't dance, but can we at least compare our heights? I've never, ever imagined a girl to be this tall. You're not alone, Lisa was smiling. And, by the way, don't consider yourself the only one to ask her for a comparison. Lisa, please. Bretta was seemingly relieved. This time she was asked to do something she's well used to. Of course, Jeff, we can compare our heights. How tall are you? 6'5". And you? 8 feet something with these heels on, she smiled down at Longy. 8, he almost shrieked and turned his back towards Bretta. She mirrored the move. That was interesting. The top of the long tall Longy, who was seen by his friends and, presumably, by himself too, as almost a giant, wasn't even up to the young lady's armpit. He turned his head to gaze in disbelief at her hip, which was at the level of his shoulders. In fact, he wasn't the only person who was gazing. I'm sure the whole restaurant stared at the two of them, but not willing to miss a thing. I didn't care much to look around. Bretta, you truly are amazing. Jeff didn't try to hide his admiration. Do you mind if I rise on my tiptoes to see where I will be up to against you then? I can tell you, it's my chin. She obviously was having fun. But you're welcome to give it a try. Jeff was quick to prove Bretta wrong in her guesstimation. He tiptoed, stretching his body to the limit, yet didn't reach higher than the bottom of her neck. Astonishing. 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 It looked like his vocabulary had just shrunk dramatically. It took our company a little more than a few moments to forget about what had just happened, but gradually the conversation shifted somewhere else, and then Jeff, who had returned to his normal self, asked Rosa for a dance. As he did so, however, he promised with some anxiety in his voice, "If you are as tall as Bretta, I'll throw myself out of the window." "Why?" she inquired. "Do you hate tall girls that much?" "I hate myself when I'm as short as." And he looked at me. I played deaf. Now, with the Argentinian, the shortest of the group, the top of her head went up slightly higher than his lips. He looked confident and kept dancing with her tune after tune after tune. The couple didn't seem to be tired even half an hour later. But Bretta did. Something's wrong? I was keen to return her to a good mood. No, I'm okay. Anything I can do for you? No, Nick, thank you. Once again, she glanced at the dancing couple. You like Jeff and are feeling jealous? I sat motionless, expecting the answer I hated to expect. Not at all. Well, he's a nice guy, and I like him, but not in the way you probably mean. Then what? As I caught her look at Rosa and Jeff again, I tried a guess. You want to dance, don't you? No. I mean. Her voice wasn't too convincing. Yes, you do. You know, I'd love to ask for a dance, and the only reason for me to keep sitting still is that you have just rejected Jeff, who's much taller than I am, so I thought. Suddenly, Bretta burst into laughter. You seriously think that I didn't accept his invitation only because of the height difference? Silly you. If I were ashamed of things like that, I would never have a dance in my life. Have you ever seen a guy tall enough to be my socially acceptable waltz partner? She paused a little. I just didn't want to dance with him. That clearly was a signal. I stood up and extended my hand. May I, then? You may. She took my hand and smiled broadly as she began to stand up. The process of me looking ever so slightly down at her face in the first instance, then horizontally, then up, and finally vertically up, the whole process was so mesmerizing that it is better left to miss here. I won't be able to describe it, so why spoil it? The most exciting thing, however, was when she finally ceased to rise. My hand was still in hers, and she slowly put it on her hip. It was the first time I had touched her body, and I felt as if I had been electroshocked. With some effort, I managed to unglue my eyes from this sexiest lower stomach of hers, which was as high as my shoulders, and craned my neck, only to see two perfectly round bulges high above my head. I couldn't see her face because of them, but I knew she was smiling. Her voice was saturated with the smile. Are you sure you're going to make the right step, partner? I didn't answer. All I could do was nod, in the hope that she would be able to see at least the top of my head. Don't be so tense, then, advised her calm yet charming voice from the skies. Though I must admit, it's hard to relax under all these looks. Utterly lost in my senses, brought on by the proximity of a luxurious body next to and above me, I totally forgot that we weren't alone in the room. Bretta turned out to be more vigilant, and she wasn't enjoying the experience of being watched. All of a sudden, I realized we were not moving any longer. Nearly kneeling down, Bretta whispered in my ear. I'm sorry, Nick, I really am enjoying dancing with you, but I can't stand all these looks, I'm afraid. Will you forgive me if we sit down now? She was right. I looked around and felt rather uncomfortable, if not annoyed. What the hell are all these people waiting for? That she will eat me alive? That I will jump into her arms? That we'll make love to each other right there and then? Well, I thought, I wouldn't mind one of the latter scenarios, and who would? Then a brilliant idea came into my mind. Yes, Bretta, I see what you mean. But I have yet to fulfill my wish to dance with you. So, what do you think if I suggest we continue in my room? There is a good hi-fi up there, and I swear I will not do anything you might find indecent. As if you could, she smiled, looking me straight in the eyes. Okay, let's escape for a while. Of course, we couldn't have left unnoticed. I mean, she could not. But the party was gathering pace, the night was young, and we promised to be back at some point. Next chapter. 9. Tushia?